Hey everybody, Dane here from the Gudde Company. In this video, I'm going to show you how I make a chair. I'm going to start with a 6/4 piece of soft maple behind me, go from rough lumber to finished product. So thank you for watching the video and enjoy.
So in every project, I start by marking out the lumber, just making sure that I'm not going to waste any. Wood isn't cheap and I don't like to waste it. It pisses me off when I make a miscut. So I mark everything out and cut it down to size, and then if I've got something that's too wide for my 8-inch joiner, I rip. What I'm doing here is I joint one edge flat, and then I take it to my bandsaw and I cut it down to just under 8 inches so it'll go onto my joiner. Then I joint the faces and the edges to get everything squared up, and so I can run it through my planer next. Up next is the planer. I'm planing down the chair seat to about 1 1/8 inch. That way I can scoop out the seat. Everything else gets planed down to about 1 5/16 inches just to make sure it's sturdy enough to support some weight.
So at this point in the process, I've got all my stock jointed and planed. I'm going to go ahead and start making the front and back legs. I have to router those out on the back. And then I'm going to glue up the seat and we'll proceed with the build. Stick with it.
So the back legs were tricky to get nailed down, but I actually figured it out. I made an MDF template that I attached with some double-sided tape, and you can see I'm just cutting it out here of the piece. And with that template, I use a pattern bit on my router, and I route out the angle and the straight part of the leg. That way I can just replicate it really quick without having to make any crazy cuts on my table saw. But it gives me a really replicatable leg. And it makes for a nice appealing 4-degree angle on the back of the leg. A little tricky to get off, as you can see here, just working it off, but the Festool OF 1400 really makes quick work of it. I've got 2 pattern bits. The first one's a little more shallow, and then the second one takes the remaining off of there. Here I'm just cutting down the rails to final size, and then I'm going to rip them on the table saw, ripping off the front legs and the rails. So I just rip everything down to the same size, making sure it's all uniform everywhere on the chair. Rip the legs, cross cut them down to 17, and I cut out the headrest.
Alright, so I have all my stock cut and parted out. I got the legs done, so I'm going to start using the Festool Domino XL to really lay out all my domino cuts. So these are floating tenons. They're what's going to really support the chair. Glue them all in, and they are incredibly strong, and it'll make for an excellent chair. So I'm just going to domino everything and then start putting it together. Keep watching.
So we're starting the fun part, just using the Domino XL to make all the domino plunges. Just using the trim stop to get each piece the exact same on all of the rails. This tool is pretty much essential for anything I build. It cuts my mortise and tenon time to a fraction, if anything. And as you see here, I'm just laying out some cuts, and once I've got them all marked, I just domino everything, and it makes for a really smooth, really easy application. Sure, you use a lot of dominoes, but dominoes are a lot less than the time it would take to hand cut all of these with chisels, making sure everything fits. With the domino, it's pretty easy. You've got the marks, you just line it up, and it was completely worth the investment. Here I'm just laying out the headrest, domino cuts, and dominoing the headrest. Final assembly before I glue up is what you're seeing now. This is where the project really kind of comes together. You see all the dominoes that go in. They're pretty tough to go in and come out the first couple of times. They loosen up just a little bit when you take them in and out. But when you glue it up, they're incredibly strong as long as you get glue everywhere in the mortise. Just final assembling and making sure everything fits before you glue it up. Once you glue it up, you can't go back.
Alright, so you're probably thinking, where did the chair seat come from? I actually had this from a previous build. I've been doing a lot of experimenting, and instead of just building 3 chairs and the 3 chair seats for the 3 different chairs I made, I'm just kind of using it to make sure it works. In the next videos, I'll show you the next steps, which are sanding this down to 220 after it's glued up. Well, before it's glued up, then gluing it up, and then doing final sands, making the seat, and then adding the oil finish, and lastly enjoying your new chair. So hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. The next steps are going to be on another video, so stay tuned for that coming really soon. But if you like what you saw, hit the like button down in the bottom, subscribe to the channel, and spread the word. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next steps. Thanks.